Let's talk refrigeration press fittings for the ACR market. We have three competing brands in 2022. They have small but very big differences among the three competitors that make some more or less advantageous than the other. So let's talk about the history. RLS, marketed under the Zoomlock brand name by Sporlan, came out in 2015. Around 2020, RLS severed their relationship with Sporlan and went under their own brand name, which is RLS. Sporlan went out there and began marketing the existing product Maxi Pro as their own product under the Zoomlock Max brand name. And the history back there is also a little interesting, as in 2018 when it was introduced, RLS sued Connex Behringer's Maxi Pro product or Zoomlock Max X offering for infringing on their patent. Connex Behringer changed their O-ring design and settled that lawsuit in 2019. So the current Maxi Pro Zoomlock Max offering is the 2019 version. And so we only have 3 years of the fittings in service. And more recently, Mueller introduced their ACR press platform. This year, they announced it last year, but it didn't hit shelves until recently, more than likely because of supply chain issues. They just couldn't get the product into the United States. So we have RLS, which is made in the United States. We have Maxi Pro or Zoomlock Max product made in Europe, and the Mueller product is made in South Korea. So the small but subtle differences, if you're bidding on federal work or Buy American Act work, this fitting meets that requirement right off the bat. There's no problem using this fitting as it's American made. Your European or your South Korean product may run into some issues and you can't use it. The next issue that we have with the three offerings is in the jaws. So RLS is by far our lightest weight offering, especially for the residential light commercial contractor. The Zoomlock Max Maxi Pro offering is a little bit heavier. Or on the 32 kilonewton platform, they have an M12 platform. I have not been able to test that. The Mueller offering only comes to work with a M18 or 32 kilonewton platform press system, and by far is the heaviest and thickest jaw, which will make this a challenge to use in overhead work, especially if you're installing a large Mitsubishi system or something of that nature. You're doing a lot of overhead work, and this system is very heavy for your technicians to be using. Both the RLS platform and Mueller platform have a double seal design. Mueller is achieving that with 2 O-rings. RLS is doing that with a single O-ring, but using a soft copper fitting. And then as it presses, it work hardens and forms another seal on the copper piping itself. The Maxi Pro offering only has one sealing element, and that's it. This enables the fitting to be shorter, but there is no secondary sealing element. It is a modified plumbing fitting, which comes to the small but challenging problem with this press platform is these fittings are not very well marked. The jaws are interchangeable with jaws meant for water piping installations. So this is a 3/4 inch hvac water pipe fitting, and it is the same size as a 7/8 inch refrigeration fitting. So you can use the jaw interchangeably, but they're not very well marked, which will leave a situation where contractors will accidentally put a water pipe fitting in a refrigeration application, to which you'll have a refrigerant leak, or a refrigeration fitting in a water pipe application, to which if that leaks, you can lead to a very large water damage claim, or a customer complaining you did not put a potable water fitting in my home or business or what have you. So the chances of liability are very high with the Zoomlock Max product. Sporlan or Maxi Pro or Connex Behringer in this case, in my opinion, has not done a very good job marking their product that it says this is for refrigeration only. They could have had a sticker or some sort of discerning dot. Well, this may not be as necessary for these products to have because there's only one jaw and one fitting that fits this platform. You can't screw this up. But for this application with Zoomlock Max, yes, there's a big chance that this ends up in the wrong application and may cost tens of thousands of dollars to correct, especially if there's walls to open up or there's a leak. You may have a big problem. So the next thing or small difference is RLS has been out since 2015, so it has the longest life cycle in the hands of contractors, and there's been no issues with this product, so the risk of adopting it is much lower. Also, you have a lot of distributors or supply houses, places where we go to pick up parts, that will be carrying cash and carry RLS fittings. The Mueller product is available at United Refrigeration locations in select areas, so yeah, you may have a challenge resupplying your fitting trays if you're out of a fitting one day, and that's the same problem with Zoomlock Max. Is there's not as many places that carry it, and quite frankly, is because as contractors adopt one or the other platforms, you have limited shelf space on the distributor floor, so they're going to go with one or the other. They can't really commit to stocking both brace fittings and 3 brands of refrigeration fittings that are proprietary to a jaw system. So RLS has the biggest market penetration in that respect. And coming up, RLS will be introducing the largest available of the 3 brands, press fitting going up to 2-inch. So RLS will be covering the residential light commercial market all the way to industrial. So that is a big bonus for the RLS platform, because if you're a contractor and you go between 2 and the smaller sizes, you're going to adopt a platform that does it all, and that's RLS. And in general, from the feedback we've had from crews we were talking about earlier, they really like the RLS platform because of its lightweight nature. We ourselves have 4 of these presses out in the field, and they've worked wonderfully. We've had no leaks. We have 5,000 to 10,000 RLS fittings out in use today at customers' homes with no issues. They're working better. We have less loss of TXVs, no filter dryer clogs, things like that, because this is a system in which you don't have to send nitrogen through. Now, we would have been nitrogen purging anyway, but if you accidentally created a Venturi situation by missing or a bad braze ahead of the line and introducing oxygen further down the line, you could introduce carbon. Also, if the tank ran out, you didn't notice something like that, you could have done that. If the rags were not installed properly at the outdoor unit or near the TXV on the indoor coil, you could also cook a TXV, cook a valve, create damage further down the line by overheating. Those things don't come to light until years down the line, and that's something that press in general is solving. In addition to that, just as an industry overall, personally, I think press is the way to go. I think in 10 years, this pressing refrigeration fittings is going to take over, much like press fittings took over plumbing. You probably can't find a plumber that's soldering pipes today, or they do it very little as needed. As we move forward, insurance companies will probably put pressure on their contractors asking, are you pressing, are you brazing? Because the liability of someone that's brazing goes up considerably if you set a house on fire, things like that. All 3 of these press platforms predominantly work the same in terms of their preparation of the copper piping. You still need to ream and clean your pipe, sand it, and use a manufacturer prescribed depth gauge. So that does not change. The speed at which the jaws or the press tools work are pretty similar, or within maybe 1/10 of a second of each other. Or the Milwaukee is very quick, I will say that, but not that it would make a labor difference. So those are your reasons or things to look at when purchasing a press platform to invest in. You're going to want to talk to your distributor, talk to your reps. RLS has really good reps. Zoomlock Max has reps as well you can speak to. Mueller does not really have a rep network that I know of or could find. They don't even have an Instagram account that, or really I think a marketing department. I think they're an older company and they're pretty much used to making press or soldered fittings, and they never felt the need to have a marketing scheme or marketing department or engineers you could talk to, because, well, they just made braze fittings and engineers spec'd them, or they were on the shelf and they had a stamp. You'd have to contact or find out why Mueller doesn't have a marketing department. Just in general, that's going to be your predominant difference between these three brands. Go out there and press, baby.